Hey people, what's going on? It's Jameel. And out of all my stuff on YouTube, I think the most interesting thing people will come across about me is told a story about how I went on a 37-mile walk. And I remember somebody out there, the obsoletest guy, Stephen Wordsworth or whatever, he came up with a YouTube video from clips of me talking and put his own analysis and put his own story on it. Now, what I'm about to tell you is 110%, 200% the truth. This is the absolute honest truth. I would not lie to my fans and my subscribers. There's people listening to me that have donated money to me for years. I put this on my mother. There's no question whatsoever. What you're about to hear is the truth. So, I had started going through what you call gang stalking in the summer of 2015. Then, in the summer of 2016, it had gotten to a bad point. I got arrested, basically set up, and after that, I had met a new friend, a new girl. I had I had been hanging out with different sorts of girls before that, but after about the end of 2016, there was a new girl that I met, and so I started hanging out with her, riding around with her. The people like in my area, the people who were following me around all this, there was some sort of network. They had got in touch with the girl somehow, and she was telling me about how it worked too. Like, she knows exactly what was happening. She was with me the whole time. She knows I was being gang stalked. She knows it's not a joke. So, anyhow, she ended up on heroin. Like, the people who were working with her somehow got her addicted to heroin over at the motel over there around the corner. And anyway, so I had gotten into an argument with her over the drugs. I knew she was on drugs, and I watched her do the dope and stuff. But I had been going through like real strong harassment, vicious stalking every single day. Basically psychological, like warfare type stuff. Like, I couldn't leave my house without, different people I lived by coming outside doing all this crazy stuff. Anyhow, so I had got an argument with my mother. And like, when you put people in extreme circumstances, they act out. So I got into an argument with my mother. I was arguing about the whole thing that had been going on the internet with the gang stalking stuff, my arrest. So I just take off walking. I end up on a 37-mile walk. The whole time I'm walking, people in my area living near me who had been following me around in the community watch stuff, gang stalking me, followed me all the way to Hudsonville. 37 miles. It's the longest walk I ever been on. I was angry, I was stressed out, but that's the result of somebody who had been getting harassed and stalked. This was not a medical issue. This was a criminal issue. This was a criminal issue of people stalking, harassing me. And so I take off walking, being stalked the whole way. And, so I get to Hudsonville, and I end up speaking with a police officer, and they were doing they were doing all kinds of stuff. I end up speaking to a police officer. Anyway, the people, whoever was stalking me, they arranged for me I got picked up, and the cops took me back to the hospital, and the doctor asked me two questions. Like, I was tired. After 37 miles, you kidding? I was exhausted. I was tired. I wanted some water. And he asked me a question. I said, I want a glass of water. And he said, well, can you answer this? I said, man, give me a glass of water. I'm thirsty. He wrote down on a piece of paper as a doctor that he felt I was experiencing some sort of delusional episode. And after being harassed and stalked up until that point, for over a year, up until that point, like a year and a half until that point, and having threatening phone calls and emails and text messages, then being followed all the way 37 miles by people who were doing it to me already up until that point, then they had the nerve to call me delusional. That was a criminal activity that happened to me. Very criminal. It was not a medical issue, it was a criminal issue. And so a lot of people are watching my YouTube videos, and they don't get, when they see me out here talking, like, this stuff was actually happening. Like, I didn't show up on YouTube and make a YouTube video about a 37-mile walk just because I wanted to go on a 37-mile walk. I had never been diagnosed in my life with any sort of medical thing. I never dealt with anything like that. This was the outcome of me being stalked and harassed repeatedly and viciously. And again, people asked me before, what happened? You were on a walk and you got picked up. They said I had hypothermia, and they want to take me back to the hospital. Then they told my mother at the hospital, has Jameel been saying people are following him? That means the doctors at the hospital were involved in the criminal act of having me admit it. So when people come on here and see me like talking about all this stuff, keep in mind that I had been going through this way up to that point. So why? It's obvious. You can watch all my footage in Muskegon County and see people out here doing all the blights and stuff. So why how would people not be following me? It doesn't make any sense. My own uncle is on YouTube. I have 3 testimony videos from my uncle on YouTube, and he's explaining how people were being paid to follow me before that happened. So I just wanted to tell people that story real quick so they can have that. And for some people, hey, if it doesn't, for some people it might be difficult to accept, but that's the honest truth of what happened, 100%.